Nigel Cecil, equity as you like it.
Especially for my equitable friends. Chakabatis! Hello to my equitable friends!
Cobblers to your equitable friends!
And cobblers to you too! Hello, Chakabatis. Nigel Cecil here, responding to my equitable friends, Hilary. Yes, we've had quite a number of emails again about this particular subject, the open meeting of members to discuss the new rule book that the Equity Council are proposing to put to referendum in November. So I've got my gavel at the ready, and I'm going to introduce my very good friend, Dave Eager, Equity Editor, a former Vice President of Equity and a long-serving Equity Councillor of some 38 years, to give an illustration of what could well happen as outcomes from these open meetings of members, just to show how sham democratic equity is. Here we yes. Firstly, we better give you the dates of the open meetings of members. Here they are. Now, as you will see, not really much time for equity members to get involved. But there again, the information was kind of buried within the general bump that's sent out to all 47,000 members. So it's really not surprising that very few members know anything about this issue. So, over to Dave, Equity Editor. Thank you, Nigel Cecil, entertainment entrepreneur, for your kind words introducing me, Dave Eager, as Equity Editor. And I'm joining together with Nigel to provide this illustration for Nigel's equitable friends of the possible outcomes from the open meetings of equity members that the Equity Council have called in order to discuss the Equity Council's proposals for the new rulebook. So before us, we have an illustration of the old rule book, and we're going to superimpose the new rules being promoted by the Equity Council. So here we go. The first rule they want to change in the old rule book is the magician, and they want to change that to the fool. Now, clearly, there will be lots of discussions at the open meetings of members of a rule that contrasts so much. So, Nigel, what will be the outcomes of those discussions? Dave, Equity Editor, outcomes from the council. Well, of course, the magician to the fool. Well, a progressive trade union, in order to fight progressively, has to be able to fool everybody. And the council have taken legal advice to confirm that this rule is in order. So, Dave, concerns dismissed. Thank you, Nigel. On to the next rule that the council are seeking to change. The current rule is the sun, and the council, by contrast, are seeking to change it to the moon. Once again, discussion at the open meetings of members, but Nigel, what will be the outcome? The sun to the moon. Well, that's a rather progressive change, because if you want to win when you're fighting for your members, better to do it by stealth in the dark. So the Equity Council, understanding this and having taken legal advice, concerns dismissed. Thank you, Nigel. And the next rule the council is seeking to change is the rule relating to the world. And the council wish to change that to judgment. Now, discussion again. But what will be the outcome of that discussion at the open meeting of members, Nigel? Changing world to judgment. Now, did the open meetings of members consider that equity, as part of its remit, gets involved internationally? And of course, it would be inconvenient if the members could sort of influence and say they didn't like what Equity Council was doing internationally. So therefore, pull it back into the domain of the council and say it's the council's judgment. You see, so the council can decide. And, well, to the members, concerns dismissed. Thank you, Nigel. And the next rule, the Wheel of Fortune in the old rule book is being changed to the Lovers. Now, that conjures up all sorts of things with that rule change. But, Nigel, what will be the outcome from the open meeting of members? What a nice, simplified rule change that appears to be. Surely no one can have any concerns whatsoever. The Wheel of Fortune to Lovers. Why? Because the Equity Council loves everybody equally and fairly. So if anybody's got any concerns dismissed. Thank you, Nigel. And the next rule that the council is seeking to change is the one about justice. So, disciplinary procedures, Nigel, and the change to that is the devil. The devil is in the detail. So, discussion at the open meeting of members, but Nigel, what will be the outcome? Dave, Equity Editor, indeed, the devil is in the detail. But don't forget, Equity can afford the best legal advice, and that will make sure that the detail is indeed worthy of being challenged by anybody, including the devil. Concerns dismissed. Well, that's Nigel's opinion, and the final rule change refers to the star, and the star is going to be changed to the Emperor. Discussion. But just a minute. At the open meetings of members, there was a suggestion it was changed to the Empress. So what was the outcome of this particular decision from the open meeting of members? Dave, Equity Editor. Emperor, Empress, Empress, Emperor. Makes no difference to the council because we're gender inclusive for everybody is the Equity Council, so we're happy to accept those concerns. How's that for you, Dave, Equity Editor? Thank you, Nigel. But of course, the one thing not to forget, Nigel's equitable friends, is that the open meetings, whilst I said that was a decision, can't take any decisions. So over to you, Nigel, to conclude this explanation about the open meetings of equity members to discuss the Equity Council's new rulebook proposals. I hope that illustration was helpful. Thank you, Dave, Equity Editor, for joining Nigel to help me with those illustrations. But am I allowed, Hilary, to correct Dave on one particular thing? Yes. You've said that those open meetings of members can't take decisions. Well, perhaps you're getting a little bit confused because they can take decisions. The only thing is, none of them, and I mean none of them, are binding on the council. And of course, Dave, Equity Editor, has only chosen a small selection of the changes that are being proposed. In fact, there's more and more and more of them, so enjoy trying to discuss them all. So really, Nigel has to say to my equitable friends, the whole process seems a little bit like Sham Democracy, because in fact, the Equity Council, even if I say that, can say, Nigel, concerns dismissed. The new equity rulebook. Do join me again. Thank you.
Nigel Cecil, Equity as you like it.